Welcome back to No Tears for Black Girls, the podcast amplifying stories of courage and systemic change. I'm your host, Samantha Paul, and today we share the powerful journey of Ashley, a survivor who turned personal struggles into advocacy despite facing institutional gaps and societal barriers. At 6 years old, someone she trusted disrupted Ashley's sense of safety. Instead of support, she encountered doubt and silence from those closest to her. By age 11, her challenges intensified, leaving lasting impacts on her well-being. At 12, a caring teacher noticed signs of distress, but what should have been a turning point led to missed opportunities for accountability and years of unresolved questions. Over 3 decades, Ashley navigated family complexities, societal stigma, and systemic delays in addressing her case. Yet her determination never dimmed. On her 30th birthday, renewed efforts brought clarity to her past, revealing truths that reshaped her understanding of justice. Along the way, she discovered strength in community support and channeled her experiences into empowering others. This episode highlights how systemic gaps, from fractured trust in families to institutional inaction, can deepen pain, and how Ashley's love for her child became a catalyst for healing. Join us as she shares her story of perseverance, young motherhood, and reclaiming her voice to inspire change.
Yeah, they were suggesting that I get an abortion.
Still?
Yeah, so it was going to be a procedure where they use the same method that they use for like lethal injection. So they were going to take a needle and they were going to put me in like use the ultrasound and find the heart and just penetrate the heart with the needle, and it stops the heart, and then I just give birth to a stillborn.
Sexual abuse and trauma involving minors demands careful attention and understanding. This account follows Ashley's harrowing journey through childhood abuse, teenage pregnancy, and her eventual path toward healing and justice, spanning several decades of her life. The story begins when Ashley was just 6 years old, experiencing her first encounter with sexual abuse from her cousin. When her mother discovered the incident, rather than receiving support, Ashley faced blame and punishment from her grandmother, who was her legal guardian because of her mother's mental health challenges. This experience set a pattern of institutional failure that would continue throughout her childhood. The abuse escalated when Ashley turned 10, with her cousin, then 17, starting a pattern of nighttime assaults. He would enter her room and lay his full body weight on her, conducting acts of molestation without penetration. However, after her 11th birthday, the abuse intensified when her cousin sexually assaulted her during what appeared to be innocent wrestling, causing significant physical trauma that affected her well-being for years to come. The incident left her unable to eat comfortably until age 25 and created long-lasting physical and emotional trauma. A pivotal moment occurred when Ashley was 12. Her cousin's 17-year-old friend, who had learned about the previous abuse, began showing an interest in her through subtle hints and teasing. One September day, when Ashley returned home early from school, this friend sexually assaulted her. Despite her protests and pain, he continued, and she remained silent, believing her grandmother wouldn't believe her claims, a belief reinforced by previous experiences. The discovery of her pregnancy came through an observant 7th grade teacher who noticed physical changes. At just 4 feet 5 inches tall and weighing 48 pounds, Ashley gave birth without pain medication because of her young age. Her baby weighed 6 pounds 12 ounces and measured 19 inches long. The hospital staff showed remarkable compassion, even organizing a baby shower for her, providing a rare moment of support during this challenging time. The aftermath of the pregnancy revealed complex family dynamics. Ashley's grandmother contacted the perpetrator's mother, but instead of supporting Ashley, they worked to keep the situation quiet. After his own mother reported him for lying about the paternity rather than the assault, authorities arrested the accused. They ordered a DNA test, but the samples remained untested for 12 years, leaving questions about paternity unresolved. During her school years, Ashley faced significant bullying and ostracism. She recalls incidents where classmates would throw change into her locker, mockingly calling it child support. Despite these challenges, she attended parenting classes at the hospital, where she was the youngest participant, but found acceptance and guidance from other mothers. The resolution to the paternity question came on Ashley's 30th birthday, when DNA results confirmed with 99.9999% certainty the identity of her son's father. This revelation led to confrontations with both the perpetrator and his mother, who had denied any involvement. During a video call with her abuser, he made disturbing comments that revealed he had been aware of her cousin's abuse, suggesting a calculated pattern of predatory behavior. Throughout her ordeal, Ashley faced multiple systemic failures. Her grandmother, who should have been her protector, often sided with the abusers and even coerced Ashley into making false statements that undermined her credibility. The legal system failed to properly investigate and process evidence that could have brought earlier justice. Her father was absent from age 5, and a brief reconnection at age 13 proved unsuccessful. The impact of this trauma affected Ashley's relationships into adulthood. She notes that her past experiences often attracted partners who sought to maintain her vulnerability rather than support her growth. However, she emphasizes she has no regrets about keeping her child, describing their relationship as one bright spot in her difficult journey. Their relationship evolved from feeling like playing with a doll to a deep, meaningful bond that helped her heal. The perpetrator's eventual exposure came through his girlfriend, who discovered his past and shared his information online, including his picture. This public revelation served as a form of delayed justice, though it couldn't undo the years of trauma and silence Ashley endured. Ashley's story illuminates several critical issues: the importance of believing survivors, the need for proper support systems for young victims of abuse, and the significance of DNA evidence in achieving justice. Her experience also highlights how institutional failures can compound trauma while demonstrating the resilience of survivors. Today, Ashley shares her story to raise awareness about childhood sexual abuse, incest, and teenage pregnancy. Her message emphasizes the importance of breaking silence around abuse and the potential damage of forcing victims to keep quiet. When asked what she would tell her younger self, her response is simple but powerful: "I love you." Her journey from victim to survivor and advocate shows the possibility of healing and seeking justice, even years after the initial trauma. This case underscores the complex intersections of family dynamics, justice system responses, and long-term trauma recovery. It serves as both a warning about the prevalence of childhood sexual abuse and a testament to the possibility of healing and seeking justice, even years after the initial trauma. Ashley's story continues to affect others, encouraging survivors to speak up and seek the support they deserve.
First started when I was 6 by a family member, who's a cousin. It didn't go as far as in a scary way, because my mom walked in and she ended up catching him. But when I was brought to my caregiver, which is my legal guardian, which is not my mom, it's my grandmother, instead of her asking questions and wanting to, get insight on what happened to me or what was going on, I was blamed and also whooped. And the more she kept asking me what's going on, I told her the truth, but she kept whipping me, and I just, I felt like I guess I had to lie and say nothing was happening.
Right.
So.
And this was a cousin?
Yes.
Was this the first time he tried to do anything with you?
That was the first time that he tried to do something. That was the first time, yes.
And your mother, why wasn't your mother your legal guardian, your caretaker?
My mom is considered by the state incompetent to raise a child, and she had two, which is me and my older brother. So they deemed her incompetent as far as like mentally wise. So the state gave legal custody, guardianship of me and my brother to my grandmother until we were 18.
Okay, so with your cousin, does this continue? Does he come back around?
Yes, he comes back once I turn 10 and a half. And that's when it started at night when I was sleeping.
What would he do?
He would come in my room and lay like on top of me, like his whole body weight on top of me, and just thrust until he left his semen.
Yeah.
And on me.
Okay.
So it was more so just like, it was more so the arousal part for him and the release.
Right.
So there was no penetration. It's more so just molestation.
Right.
It's like sexual misconduct.
Right.
With a child.
How old is he?
He was
at that time?
17.
17, and you were 10.
I was 10 and a half, yes.
10 and a half. Mm-hmm. And so he's not actually penetrating you, you say, going inside of you, but just like on your body.
The sexual experience, right. Yes.
At what point does he penetrate you?
So that happened after my 11th birthday. We were like, family was over, and we were like play wrestling like normal, family, cousins and stuff like that. And I had on a dress, and we were like wrestling and stuff like that. And he had came and grabbed me from behind, and I'm thinking like, he's gonna like, do some wrestling,
right.
And no, he was like holding on to me and pulling his pants down at the same time.
Right.
And when he got my undergarments down, he was trying to penetrate, but because I was wiggling, he ended up piercing my anus, and I ended up having trauma there.
So now, from him, it's just a monstrous act. Okay. He continues. What kind of complications did you have as a result of?
I was scared to believe myself. Because it hurt.
So you were unable to move your bowels?
Yeah, so bad.
Want to take a break? Let's take a break. Later down the line, maybe a year, I guess your cousin talks about what he had been doing to you with a friend. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what happens next.
Well, his friend, it was actually my brother's friend. My brother vouched for him to come into the house and be a part of our, little family. And my cousin, they all was like, it was just the three of them, and they all hung out and stuff like that. So he made him aware of what he was doing, but it was only because he brought him in to my room one night. And I woke up and I saw both of them in my room, and I told him, "What are you doing? Get out of my room," and stuff like that. And at that time, I didn't know if the conversation or anything. I just knew that he would do little, subtle things. Mm-hmm. I guess to say, he likes me or whatever.
Right.
But he was older.
Right.
So I didn't.
How old was he?
17.
As well?
Yes.
Okay. And you were, at this time?
I was 12.
12.
Yes. And he just made, subtle hints.
Okay. Subtle hints, but never was, touching you, violating you, anything like that?
No, it was just, more so, kind of coming down to my age level
Right.
mentality.
Yeah.
It's like doing little, like how they say, like, oh, if a boy likes you, he hits you.
Right.
So it was like little things like that. Like, say something about my parents or.
Right. Pick on you.
Yeah.
When did you get home early from school?
It was September. It was in September. It was like the beginning of the school year. And I got home on my brother was supposed to meet me.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't, so I ended up walking home from school that day. And I didn't know anybody wasn't home, so when I rang the doorbell, instead of my brother not answering the door, it was his friend who answered and let me in. And I'm getting undressed out of my school clothes and, and gonna settle down and get ready, do my homework and stuff like that before my mother came home. And he had came in my room while I was getting undressed, and he had not pushed, but guided me down on the bed. And he went and did oral first, and then that's when he went and inserted, and it was painful, and I told him to stop, and because it was hurting, and no, he just kept going, and I never spoke about it or said anything and to anybody because it was more so I got to that point where it was like, if my grandma didn't believe me when my cousin was violating me, then she's not going to believe this.
Right.
So I just kept it to myself up until I found out I was pregnant.
Did your cousin ever penetrate you vaginally?
No, just the anus.
And okay. What happened when you first told your grandmother about your cousin penetrating you anally?
She told me that I was lying.
No repercussions?
No. She told me that I was lying, and she never even wondered why I wouldn't sit down and eat.
And your
She
cousin...
just thought I was being rebellious.
Right. And your cousin stopped coming back around after that?
Yeah.
So this incident happens now with your cousin's friend, or your brother's friend, rather. He takes off after.
Mm-hmm.
You stay at home, and you just kind of, what's going through your mind? A 12-year-old kid.
I kind of blocked it out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just, kind of just happen.
Mm-hmm.
This thing just happens. Just you tell yourself it happens.
You were kind of used to the abuse.
Yeah.
Especially because...
Well, when you get beat, not tell the truth, you kind of just like young, compartmentalize a lot of things.
Of course.
And kind of just set it there because you have other things, like I had school. So.
At what point do you realize that you're pregnant?
Well, I didn't know because I knew I wasn't even in a grade where they were teaching about, the anatomy or the body. I didn't even touch that subject, so I knew nothing. I didn't even know what a period was. So I couldn't even go and say, hey, there's something different about my body, because I'm just thinking you're a kid, you're growing, you're getting fat. At first, it's like, okay, I'm not eating anything. How am I getting fat? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where that came in, and it's a lot of things ran through my mind, like, oh man, he could have tore something.
Right.
Go to the doctors or something. There's a lot of things.
At 12 years old, had you even started your menstrual?
No.
You didn't?
No. Well, he impregnated me, like in the just like in the time frame of when it was supposed to start. I just turned 12, so it didn't even start.
You told me you hadn't had a period until you were 24 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How?
Well, with the doctors telling me that, my body kind of going in a different direction, reverse, almost like, so consulting with my medical team, people that I trusted, you kind of, things are going to start differently. It's not going to start when you need to. So I think I was like, my body was going through like a grown phase, and it didn't know how to get back in line.
He offset something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've never heard anything like this.
Well, just the lining also, like I was young, so everything stretched.
Yeah, you told me about all the things that your body had to sort of fast track.
Yeah, to grow a baby.
To grow a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then after I gave birth, that's when I had to kind of take my medical serious as far as like steroid shots.
Steroid
so
shots.
Things can just rapid, so that things like in my body can speed up.
Right. Okay. How do you find out that you're pregnant? Again, you said you were wondering how you were getting bigger, but you wasn't eating.
Yeah.
You was like wondering what's going on. How do you actually find out you're pregnant?
Actually, my 7th grade teacher reached out to my caregiver and just suggested that I get a visit, like a physical for school and stuff like that. And she was watching me play, and I had rolled my belly in a way, or we were dancing like kids and stuff like that, and she saw a bulge like in here in the midsection area that was not normal, and that's what made her jump to that conclusion that you need to check her out and stuff like that. So once I left school that day, my mom took me straight to the clinic, and I did a pits in the cup and stuff like that, like they asked me to, and then I sat in the waiting room for a while, and then they called me back into the room, and then they said to me that I was pregnant, and I was just like, what? Like,
as atrocious as the crime was, is almost as fascinating as this journey of pregnancy was as well.
I didn't experience it from start to finish because I didn't know.
Right.
But when I did find out and they told me, it was even more of a shock.
So you rolled the belly and your baby hit back.
Like, I'm here.
And your teacher just says that's not right.
Yeah, something's not right. Yeah. That's not
the
skinny arms, but my belly's like what is that?
Yeah, that's not your lunch. Okay, so in my mind, you gave birth in the hospital?
Yeah.
You're walking a 12-year-old through the hospital preparing for labor. Are people not looking like...
Well, I was actually going for checkups for the last 2 months that I had. I was like, it was really hard. With people staring and wanting to know how old I am. And like, you just look like a baby. You get that all the time and stuff like that. But one thing that did kind of make me feel, comfortable, the hospital wasn't they were making sure that they kept an eye on me, and they threw me a baby shower. So that kind of made me excited.
What?
You know, even though, you know, you're 12 years old, you're like, I'm expecting a baby. And it's like, no. So, but they saw how, like, overwhelmed I was. So my last doctor's visit, they threw me a baby shower, and they furnished everything, and they brought everything, like clothes from infant to like when he turned like 2 years old. So
How'd that make you feel?
well, it made me feel supported, and that someone cares.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, and they stayed in touch with me.
Thanks for listening to No Tears for Black Girls. If you enjoyed our show, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating, hit that subscribe button, and give us a follow on social media. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue sharing these important stories. Stay blessed, stay loved, and most importantly, stay safe. Peace and love to you all.